Philippines' Universal Robina Corporation, or URC, is acquiring Munchy Food Industries for 1.925 billion ringgit on a cash-free, debt-free basis. In a disclosure to the Philippine Stock Exchange, URC said its subsidiary URC Snack Foods Malaysia inked a deal to buy from Crunchy Limited 100% of Crunchy Foods, which owns Munchy Food Industries and Munch World Marketing. Crunchy Limited is controlled by funds managed by private equity giant CVC Capital Partners. According to the filing, the transaction will allow URC to become a market leader in Malaysia in the biscuit segment. It said the final purchase consideration will be determined upon completion and closing of the transaction. Meanwhile, Munchy Food CEO Rodney Wong said in a joint press release that the move will give the company access to research and development expertise in multiple categories, enhance market knowledge, route to market, and manufacturing capabilities in countries outside of Malaysia. He said it looks forward to its next phase of profitable growth. Established in 1991, Munchy Food makes Munchies crackers as well as biscuits and wafers under the Lexus, Oat Crunch and Music brands. Its products can be found in more than 50 countries. Bursa Malaysia ended broadly lower today in line with regional markets amid weak sentiment following the emergence of a new COVID-19 variant in South Africa, as well as a recent surge in new infections in Europe. At 5 p.m, the benchmark FBM KLCI declined 5.38 points or 0.35% to finish at 1,512.22 from 1,517.6 on Thursday. The index opened 0.57 of a point higher at 1,518.17 and moved between 1,508.97 and 1,518.44 throughout the day. Decliners thumped gainers 993 to 195, while 303 counters were unchanged, 821 untraded and 39 others suspended. Turnover jumped to 4.9 billion units with 3.48 billion ringgit from yesterday's 3.81 billion units with 2.42 billion ringgit. Rakuten Trade Vice President of Equity Research Chong Pak Ling said the FBM KLCI has broken the 1,520 support level and may test the 1,500 psychological level in the near term. He told Bernama that the benchmark index should see some downside, though bargain hunting activities may emerge as well. Regionally, Japan's Nikkei 225 declined 2.53% to 28,751.62. Singapore's Straits Times Index dipped 1.72% to 3,166.27, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index went down 2.67% to 24,080.52. AmBank Holdings, or AmBank, booked a 35.3% increase in second quarter FY22 earnings to 321.04 million ringgit on lower impairment charge. Revenue, however, slipped 2.9% to 1.12 billion ringgit. For the first half of FY22, net profit rose 17.5% to 707.64 million ringgit, while revenue climbed by just under 5% to 2.36 billion ringgit. AmBank Group CEO Datuk Sulaiman Muhammad Tahir said the group was able to make good progress with profit before provision, which grew 14% to 1.35 billion ringgit. He said it was able to retain a tight control on costs in the first half of FY22, which led to its cost-to-income ratio improving further to 42.7%. Meanwhile, the group's net credit cost for the first half stood at 61 basis points, with net provisions 1% lower year-on-year. Sulaiman said while the potential impact of the UROS scheme on its second half earnings should be manageable, the lender continues to set aside preemptive provisions against certain loan portfolios, taking its total overlay reserves to 900 million ringgit. He added the group remains sufficiently capitalized and highly liquid. AmBank ended the day 2.5% lower at 3 ringgit 15 cent, valuing the group at 10.44 billion ringgit. Axiata Group saw its third quarter FY21 net profit grow 25.9% quarter-on-quarter to 349.56 million ringgit on higher revenue as well as improved earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization or EBITDA due to higher contributions across all operating companies. Revenue increased by 2.4% to 6.54 billion ringgit on the back of contributions from XL Axiata, Dialog Axiata, Robi Axiata and Axiata Digital Services. On a yearly basis, however, Axiata's net profit slipped 1%, despite revenue recording an improvement of 7.1%. Axiata's chairman Tan Sri Ghazali Sheikh Abdul Khalid said in a statement that the steady performance places the group on a strong trajectory to keep serving the needs of customers and communities across the region. Meanwhile, Axiata's president and group CEO Dato' Izzaddin Idris said the group is optimistic about improved data monetization for digital telcos, the sustained growth momentum of Axiata Digital's businesses, as well as a pickup in site rollouts for e.co with the easing of lockdown restrictions across markets. He said 2021 revenue, excluding device and EBITDA growth, are projected to be ahead of headline KPIs at mid-single-digit percentage growth for both. At the close, Axiata's shares were down 2.5% to RM3.90 for a market capitalization of 35.78 billion ringgit. Malakoff Corp saw its third quarter FY21 net profit drop 43% to 67.16 million ringgit from the immediate preceding quarter on lower contribution from Tanjung Bin Power's coal plant in Johor. This was also due to the decline in the dispatch factor, a lower contribution from foreign investment in associates, mainly from Al-Hid IWPP in Bahrain, due to higher operation and maintenance costs associated with the provision for slow-moving inventory for certain gas-fired power plants as the plants approach the end of the power purchase agreement. Revenue dipped slightly to 1.5837 billion ringgit in the third quarter of FY21 compared with 1.5844 billion ringgit in the second quarter of FY21. On a year-to-year basis, however, net profit grew 32.2% on higher contributions from Tanjung Bin Power and Tanjung Bin Energy's coal plants in Johor on the back of higher applicable coal price, improved contributions from Alam Flora and foreign investments in associates coupled with lower operation and maintenance costs. Revenue was up by 6.8% from the same quarter last year. Looking ahead, the group expects its overall performance for FY21 to remain satisfactory. Malakoff's shares closed unchanged at 75.5 cents for a market value of about 3.78 billion ringgit.